Hello everyone, and welcome to the latest devlog for Vengeful Rites, a virtual reality RPG. My name's Anthony, and I've got a lot of cool new things to show you this time around, I think. As usual, everything I'm about to show you has already been patched into the game, which is kind of weird. I know how that's the way we do our devlogs, but that's typically how they seem to go. We patched the game yesterday. The game's currently on sale, 25% off, so if you've been thinking about picking it up, now is definitely the time to do so. And there's a lot that's been done. The patch notes are pretty extensive, but I just want to focus on some of the core main features of the patch here today. So the first thing you may have noticed if you've played the game before and you've seen the shop is that it looks completely different now. Your boy, who used to be standing over here staring off, aimlessly into space and just generally looking like a murderer, unblinking, he blinks now, which is pretty important, pretty significant, adds a lot to the comfort value for sure. And he actually does a lot more than that. So why don't we see what we can do with him now?
Say, you came from the direction I heard that loud noise from earlier. You wouldn't happen to know what happened, would you?
So the first thing you'll notice is that he speaks and blinks, as I mentioned, which is pretty important. And you can actually speak back to him. And I mean that literally. Not only can you select your options the old-fashioned way. Also, I apologize if I move my head around too much. I'm making a very concentrated effort right now to be as still as possible because I know that's horrible for the viewer. So forgive me if I do end up moving around a little bit too much. But as I was saying, you can select the options the old-fashioned way with your controller, or if you're on Windows 10 and you use a language pack that supports voice recognition, so English, Spanish, a handful of other ones, then you can actually speak your responses, which I'm pretty excited about. So let's give it a shot. A meteor crashed in the forest.
Oh my, I hope no one was hurt. The great hero Abaddon lives around here, I think. It would be a shame if he got caught up in that, especially with these goblins getting so out of hand lately.
Now, it works surprisingly well, which I have to give most of the credit to Microsoft for. I didn't have to do very much to get it to do what I want it to do. But it does add a fair bit of immersion to the game, I think. And it's just a nice feature to have, I feel like, and it definitely... we wanted to go at it pretty hard. We knew that when we started adding an NPC interactions, we didn't want it to just be the absolute bare minimum. And this is definitely one of the things we felt would bring it to the next level. And we're happy to have it in the game. And it works pretty well. Abaddon is dead. Dragor killed him. And it makes me look like a liar immediately. Abaddon is dead. Dragor killed him.
Why, that no good son of a...
It's not perfect.
Teach him a lesson.
I don't want to say it's perfect, but it works pretty well. Generally, it works the first try every time. If I'm speaking a lot around it, so it makes it harder to pick out the phrases. But if you just speak what you're supposed to speak, it does a pretty good job. I'll stop Dragor if it's the last thing I do.
It just might be.
See?
If you mean to fight Dragor, you're in for one dangerous adventure.
That's enough of that.
Legend
So long.
says the only way to... Farewell.
Yeah, we can get him to shut up now while I show you guys Scepters, the new weapon type that we added to the game. Now, these function very similarly to swords in that they function as a melee weapon. You can parry and attack and, do all the things you can with a sword, but they're a little bit weaker than swords for their melee damage, and they can't be enchanted. Those are the cons to them. But the pros are that just holding this reduces my mana cost when casting abilities and gives me a chance to not consume mana at all, which is huge. So if you like to play as a mage, like killing things with fireballs or healing yourself a lot, or blocking things with a shield, you can do that with this for cheaper, and it makes that playstyle much more viable. We also added not the most major thing necessarily. They're all pretty major. It's really hard to select what's the most significant. There's a cutscene earlier on in the game now. Instead of you just coming back and finding a tooltip that Master Abaddon has been killed, you'll actually witness it happen. I don't know that this is less unnerving, having him just stare at me like this. Hey, buddy. I'm going to say that it is. But this is something new that we added to the game, which is crafting. Now, currently crafting is limited to swords. We may expand that further in the future. I don't know for sure. But for now, that's what we've got in. And the way that it works is that when you're out on your adventure, you can find a recipe, such as this one, and bring it back to any shop and place it here in this recipe book. And once you've done that, if you have the iron required, you see this requires 200 iron, and I should mention, iron, most of you would be like, what is he talking about? That's something new we've added also. You can find iron ore all around the world. The same way that you found gold ore, you can also find iron ore. So you can mine it with your pickaxe, and if you've collected enough of it and you have a recipe, you can come craft it. You can also get iron by melting down weapons, swords specifically. So like, for example, if I were to sell this one, then I just got back 60 iron. Now I have like 10,000 of it because I've, I've cheated and I've given myself well above what I can get. But normally that 200 mark, it would take you most of chapter 1 to find that, unless you're melting stuff down. You can find that just by mining ore without having to salvage any, but it'll take you the majority of chapter 1. So let's give it a shot. Now, if I come over here, I can lower this press. You see it's consuming my 200 iron, and once it's done that, I can then take the unrefined sword that I found. Now you'll notice this doesn't look quite like the one in the picture. That's because this is just the unrefined sword, and it tells me, bring your new sword to the anvil. Whoops, walked a little bit past it, which I will do. And I can now take it, hold sword here, and strike with the hammer. After a few good hits, it becomes the sword that I'm trying to craft. And now this sword, Lightbringer, is actually, as you might expect, the best sword in Chapter 1, the new best sword. There still is a hidden sword, which is very good and better than the ones you can buy from the shop. But this one is better than all of them, as you might expect, because not only do you have to find the recipe to craft it, you also have to collect the ingredients, or, the iron ore anyway, to do so. And this may very well be the best weapon in Chapter 1, probably when you enchant it with the mana steel meteor shard, because this is going to give you the most damage output and the best, probably the most sustainable. You can get back a lot of mana by murdering things with this. But let's see, get rid of that. And I think I covered pretty much everything I wanted to talk about so far. Hopefully I haven't moved my head around too much. This is actually, I've done multiple takes of this, and I'm really making an effort to keep my head still because it's been worse and worse each time. But again, so we've got new weapons, we've got this snazzy new shop that you can see, we've got a merchant who will actually speak to you and tell you a fair amount about the story, the world, your enemy, by which I mean Dregor, and just generally, he's a good place to get story information and lore, among other things. There's mini games. Those of you who have played know this is where the archery mini game takes place, where you can come back and get an elixir from him, which he actually does now. It doesn't just pop up in front of you anymore. And generally, we're really making a concerted effort to get the story elements of the game up to snuff, because if we're being honest, they've been lacking this whole time, which is not what we've wanted. And we're finally getting around to it. Chapter 2 is still being developed. It's coming along very nicely, but this is stuff that affects the whole game, so I've sort of been focusing on this while my brother, those of you who know, we're a two-man dev team, he's been creating assets for Chapter 2, and it's coming along really nicely. He's been posting a lot of screenshots and stuff in the Discord, which I will also link in the description below for anyone who wants to share their thoughts, give feedback. It's very useful to us. Report bugs, especially, because bug squashing is top priority for me, and it's just a pain when I don't know what they are. So if you do encounter a bug, please let us know. You can do so on the forums, the Steam forums. Hell, you can comment under this video, or any of them would be useful. The Discord, anywhere is great, as long as we get the information that's super useful. As I mentioned, we patched the game yesterday. It's currently on sale, 25% off. We've also started a GoFundMe. So if I'm being honest, the sales haven't been quite what they need to be for us to continue working on the game full time, as we have been doing. And the GoFundMe is there to hopefully offset that a little bit and allow us to keep doing that without having to get other jobs and cut back to part-time development. So if that's something you're interested, I'll put a link in the description below if you'd like to support us that way. If not, if you haven't picked up the game, again, that's probably the best way to do so, and it's on sale right now. With this honestly feels like a relaunch to me, because so much has changed with the story elements, the new weapon types, crafting and mining of iron and all that, and huge optimization improvements. Just generally a lot has happened. I know it's been like 2 months since the last patch, which is not normally the way we do things, but we haven't just been sitting by not doing anything. Trust me, a lot's been getting done. That's where I'll leave it for today, guys. Subscribe if you'd like to see more. We'll be doing more of these. I'll try to be more regular with them than I have been. I know a lot of the stuff that we talked about here probably could have been spread out over a few other devlogs, and I've just been really bad about keeping up with it. Stay on me. By all means, hound me. If you're interested, you want to know what's going on, tell us in the Discord, and I'll make a a significant improvement in my efforts to try to keep everybody up to date with these devlogs, because I know they're a great way to get the information out there. But that's it for now. Again, thanks for watching. Subscribe if you want to see more, and I will see you guys in the next one. So long.